In this speech, I hope to inform you about where I have lived, how I have lived, and how I plan to live the rest of my life. My name is Danny Roach, and I'm a senior at Iowa Falls Alden High School in Iowa Falls, Iowa. My story begins in McHenry, Illinois. I was born there May 22nd, 1998, in the same hospital my mother was born. Growing up, my family moved a lot. We lived in McHenry for about 8 years of my life before moving to Port Richey, Florida. We moved there because my dad got a job working for Pods Moving Services. We lived there for 7 years before moving back to the Chicago area after the economy crashed and my dad lost his job. After that move, it seemed like we moved every other month. We lived in the Chicago area about 6 months before moving back to Florida for a few months after my dad found a new job. My dad found a different job back in McHenry, so we moved back to the Chicago area where I began my freshman year of high school. After about 6 months of living in McHenry, we moved to a town of 800 people in Arapahoe, Nebraska. My dad fell in love with his job, and our family thought for sure we were done moving. We were wrong. Only this time, the reason for moving was a good one. After living in Nebraska for 2 years, we moved to Iowa Falls, Iowa. The reason for moving this time was my dad found the same job that he loved and worked for in Nebraska, but the pay was better and the town was just right for us to settle down. Now that you know about all the places I have lived, I'm going to tell you about how I was homeschooled throughout school. Moving around a lot made it difficult to keep friends for a very long time and made it hard to get used to moving. I went to public school until 5th grade. We were living in Florida, and the school we were going to was one of the worst schools in Florida as far as test scores. My mom decided when me and my brother were young that she was going to be a stay at home mom and take care of me and my brother. At this time, the schools around us were so bad that she figured she could do just as good a job, if not better job, teaching me and my brother as the teachers were doing. Me and my brother were homeschooled all the way until we moved back to Chicago my freshman year. Being homeschooled isn't what everyone sees it to be. We did just as much work, if not more work, as many students at public schools were doing. I enjoyed being homeschooled, but I was also wondering what I was missing out on going to school. When we moved back to Chicago, my family decided that it was time for me and my little brother to start going back to public school. I was very nervous to go back to school and wasn't sure what to expect. The school I was going to was 5A, and my class had over 1,000 people in it. My high school was so big it seemed impossible not to get lost every day. It was like a living nightmare. I hated it. Lucky for me, my family told me that we were moving again. For the first time in my life, I was actually excited to move. When we moved to Arapahoe, Nebraska, it was a big cultural shock. This time, my class only had 12 people in it, and it was one extreme to another. I enjoyed going to school every day in Arapahoe because it wasn't so big and scary, and I was getting good grades. After 2 years, my dad told us that there was a job opportunity in Iowa that he was going to go interview for. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I enjoyed the school I was going to, but the town was so small it seemed like there was just nothing to do. When we finally decided that the move was official, I was sad to say goodbye to my friends of 2 years, but I was also excited to begin another chapter of my life. When we moved, I was nervous to go back to a bigger school, but excited that it wasn't as big as Chicago. My class has 138 people in it and is the perfect size. This leads me to my next topic of football. I began playing football when I was 9 years old living in Florida. Growing up, I always wanted to be a football player, and it seemed like a dream come true when I finally started playing. I played football in Florida for 7 years, and my team won the Super Bowl 2 times. This is one jersey from the Super Bowl team, and this is another jersey from the Super Bowl winning team. This is the biggest game in Florida for Little League football. I began playing high school football in Chicago my freshman year at the 5A high school. The team had a freshman team, sophomore team, and JV team, and varsity team. After 2 weeks of practice, I started on the JV team as a freshman, and I was the only freshman to start JV in our whole entire conference. We moved to Arapahoe later on that year, and I started on the varsity team my freshman year. My sophomore year, I started varsity at the end of the season. I was awarded first team all conference first team All County as a sophomore, and also was awarded honorable mention All State. My junior and senior year was at Iowa Falls, and I was awarded All District both years. I plan on playing football for Ellsworth this next year. This leads me to my final topic, my future goals. Like I just said, I plan on playing football for Ellsworth Community College this next fall, and I plan on going to Ellsworth for 2 years, then Iowa State for 2 years, and then going to Palmer College for 3 years and getting my Doctor of Chiropractic degree. I hope to then open my own chiropractic clinic and settle on down somewhere and raising a family. That is my life story in a nutshell, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks.